Our readings are taken from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries in the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This week is First Things First. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. That expression, first things first, is a piece of counsel often given to students of business techniques. It is the advice of practicality to those who aspire to worldly success. But according to the Hermetic doctrine, as above, so below, that which works best on one level of life is often the best guide to what will work best on every other level. If a person is true to his highest priorities, he will generally find that his other needs are fulfilled naturally as well. This is true certainly of the search for God. One of the greatest sayings of Jesus Christ was the simple sentence in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 6. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Paramahansa Yogananda gave his elder brother Ananta a wonderful lesson in this truth. It was Ananta who had captured him and brought him back from his flight to the Himalayas, described by Yogananda in Autobiography of a Yogi. In Yogananda's book, we read how Ananta later challenged him in the city of Agra to pit his divine faith against such practical worldly considerations as the need for earning a living. Fearless before that challenge, the young aspirant agreed to go by train without any money to the nearby town of Vrindavan, not to miss a single meal in Vrindavan, and to find his way back to Agra without begging and without in any other way asking for help. In one of the most thrilling chapters of the book, Yogananda fulfilled all the conditions of the test. Yogananda continued the account. As the tale was unfolded, my brother turned sober, then solemn. The law of demand and supply reaches into subtler realms than I had supposed. Ananta spoke with spiritual enthusiasm never before noticeable. I understand for the first time your indifference to the vaults and vulgar accumulations of the world. Late as it was, my brother insisted that he receive Diksha, initiation into Kriya Yoga. As the Bhagavad Gita puts it in the 9th chapter, those who worship lesser gods go to their gods, but those who worship me come to me. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Hello everyone. Let's start with Whispers from Eternity. And the one that opened up was very nice. Make me thy butterfly of eternity. I have burnt my past, destroying every seed of evil destiny. I have stridden bravely through the strewn ashes of my past and future fears. I am the eternal now, having torn to shreds my enclosing cocoon of ignorance with the sharp knife of free will. Now I'm thy soaring butterfly of eternity, flitting freely through immeasurable skies of time. The beauty of my wings I spread out through nature everywhere, to entertain all things, all beings. My wings are sprinkled with suns and stardust. Lo, I'm beautiful. May every silken thread that shrouded my past folly be severed forever. See, they trail now behind me, only adding to my beauty as I wing my way to my own self in thee. So the Whispers from Eternity is always interesting because Yogananda, as you read it, you realize he has co-opted pretty much everything in creation for his quest of self-realization. Eagle, butterfly, submarine, rocket, you name it. I mean, lion, I mean, everything is in there. Even the drunkard, in one of his prayers, he says, make me as addicted to thee as the drunkard is addicted to wine. So he co-opts everything, and it's just beautiful. That's why a saint's prayers are the prayers to tune into, because they bring you back to the understanding that God's on your side, and the spiritual adventure is an adventure. It's the greatest adventure, Yogananda said, ever written, and the ending is a good one, self-realization. So some of you I know, and some of you know me. My name is Sagar, and I reside right now since 7 or more years at Ananda Village in California. And it's always nice to be here in Portland, very easy to feel at home, and Portland is a beautiful city. Nevada City, where we live in the Sierra Mountains, is beautiful also, but Portland's different, and it's very nice to be here again this time. And the topic of the sharing is first things first, and I was tuning into this affirmation on humor as Lorna was reading it. Merriest am I when I recall my own mistakes. And that's exactly what happened to me just about half an hour ago. I'm not making this up. Because, when I thought of the topic, I had certain things in mind. And I said, I'm pretty sure, I'll check, but I'm pretty sure I've never talked about these things here in Portland. And there was a nagging thought in my mind. It's nice to just check and verify. But somehow, the days have been busy, and I never did that until right after purification ceremony at 9:45. I said, I should pay heed to that guidance and take a look at what I said last time. So as everybody else went to the vestry, I showed up a little late. I was up in my room, opening my computer and listening to my own talk from last year, and I had said exactly the things I had planned to say today. So first thing first, for a visiting minister, don't trust your memories. Go back and see what you said last year, or you won't get invited again. So for good measure, I also tuned in very briefly to what I said the year before then. And so I won't cover those things that I shared, the stories I had in mind. I thought they went so well with what was going on with this topic. But luckily for me, the same divine who's a part of our humorous journey also comes to our rescue. And a very interesting letter from Paramahansa Yogananda, which I was looking for the last month and a half. As it turned out, it landed in my inbox finally just on Friday. And it goes very well with this topic. So I want to use that as a starting point and then see where our journey takes us. This was written by Yogananda in October of 1951. He passed on in 1952, March of 1952. And this was written by him to somebody who was in Italy, in Napoli, who was interested in receiving the teachings. And Yogananda's letter is very interesting. This is written to Mr. Georges Di Simone in Napoli, Italy. Dear Mr. Simone, I was very happy to receive your good letter of last June 21st. Please forgive this very tardy reply, but I have been in seclusion over the past months. He was writing his Gita commentaries, and it has been impossible for me to keep up with all my correspondence. I am glad that you have read my autobiography and enjoyed it. The path of Kriya Yoga, as taught by Babaji, is the highest way. And if you will follow it, you will be able to convert all theories about God into direct perception of Him. The path will take as long as you want it to take in your heart of hearts. It doesn't say, very interesting. He doesn't say the path will take as long as your karma dictates, because then you don't have a say. He says the path will take as long as you want it to take in your heart of hearts. If you try very hard, there is no reason why you should not attain the highest quickly, in a matter of years. But if you try only a little bit, Of course, it can take much longer, even incarnations. It is up to you. As soon as you are convinced, and God is convinced, that you want Him and nothing else, then you will be free. The way to reach that conviction is to meditate intensely until you can feel His presence. When you once have that, then you will know that that is more worthwhile than anything of this world. I'm sorry you do not know English, but since you know French, I suggest you get in touch with our center leader in Paris. He will instruct you on how you can receive the teachings in French. I pray that someday we will be able to send a qualified teacher to Italy to spread the cause of Kriya Yoga. But this is a young work and very new in Europe, so I will give you the address of our Paris center leader. Please keep in touch with me. I'm deeply praying to the Infinite Father on your behalf. Unceasing blessings, very sincerely yours, Paramhansa Yogananda. And so, this is a very nice summary of first things first. It is up to us. How short the path is, how quickly we reach the divine goal. In fact, this is very important precept of the yogic path, that we can shorten the time it takes to reach self-realization by being more focused. Now, first thing first generally is translated into that we should seek God first. As Swamiji's reading said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. But that's like preaching to the choir. We have already made that decision. That's why we are here. We want to prioritize our spiritual journey. So the question really for us becomes, how do we make first things first with the understanding that self-realization is a strong goal of our life? Are there some aids that can help us on that journey? And I thought it would be nice to specialize this satsang to give a little more than the thought that, okay, we should seek God first in our lives, because I think that's been pretty well drilled down in all our hearts and minds, and we don't need that convincing again. Now, one of the things when we know what our goal is to make it easy to reach the goal. This is practical, as Swami was saying. We have to be practical on the spiritual path, and first things first is a practical advice. Now, once we know what our goal is, one of the first things we should do is find out how we can make our journey the easiest, the quickest. How can we reach there fastest? And so, thanks to Paramhansa Yogananda, this is from one of his books, The Essence of Self-Realization. He gives a suggestion, and I want to read this suggestion. He says, when traveling on an ocean, one comes upon areas here or there where the sea is calm. Even on the great ocean of delusion, one finds occasionally areas of exceptional calmness. This happens when an avatar or divine incarnation is sent to earth with a special dispensation. All who tune into his spirit find it relatively easy to escape delusion's power. And this is a very important statement. There's each of these books that we share, there's so many powerful precepts buried that sometimes we lose sight of one pearl or the other. It's quite common, and that's why revisiting some of these lines can be of immense help. And as Yogananda says there, he said the 5 masters of this path were avatars, supremely free souls who came not because they needed to work their karma out, but simply as a part of a divine mission. And there have been others, the Buddha and so on and so forth, who have been such fully liberated souls also. But he often used to say that this was a special dispensation, and he didn't say it because he wanted to put himself ahead of others. He was simply sharing a fact. And he said that all those who can tune in deeply to this blessing which has come at this time will find it relatively easy to escape delusion, to become free. And so this attunement with a self-realized soul such as Yogananda, or you might have your own path, that's okay, is a very important part to keep in mind. And then the question arises, well, how do we get in tune with the divine? This again, as I was saying, is something that came up. We have an online community of about 300 plus people. who don't live near a local community like you guys do. They can't go to Sunday service in person. They are in Minneapolis, in Greece, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Canada, you name it. They are, I sometimes joke, or New York or wherever it is, I sometimes joke, all our community members live in the boonies. Unlike people at Ananda Village who live in the metropolis of spiritual light, there's light bearers everywhere, temples everywhere. Everything is accessible. Now, if you want food, you have to go 20 miles away to get food. If you want movies, you have to go 30 miles away to get movies. The definition of boonies depends on what we are seeking, So sometimes I joke when people come from New York, oh, you live in the boonies. To find another Kriya Yogi, you have to travel 20 miles probably. But anyway, we serve everybody. And so we have people who live far away. And somebody from Florida wrote recently saying she's struggling. Life's not easy politically and otherwise, economically for many people. And she's struggling. And she's trying to tune into Yogananda's guidance of being in the world but not of it. And she was asking, how do I do it? What exactly am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be participating in events? Am I supposed to be aloof? Am I supposed to be unfeeling? Should I open my heart? How do I be in the world but not of it? And I was thinking of what to answer this person, and when I generally do, I also look up what answers other ministers have given, and in fact, we have an entire section on ananda.org called Your Spiritual Questions Answered, and there's many wonderful answers there. Now, for a long time, Gita's father, Riemann, was our minister to go to. He likes answering questions, and he is very good at giving answers. And one of his answers, he said many things, but one of the lines he used caught my attention, and when I wrote this person, I expanded on that. The mantra for a devotee is Jesus' prayer, "Thy will be done." And now most of us remember that line from a particular incident in Jesus' life. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane right before he was going to be imprisoned, and he was praying that, if possible, let this cup pass from me, but nonetheless, thy will be done. But if you read the New Testament, you realize that doing God's will was what Jesus talked about again and again. It wasn't specific to that incident. Again and again, he would say, I come to do the will of my Father, not my own will, in different ways. In fact, that's the first thing he says in the entire Bible. When he's a young boy and he's lost, his parents have taken him to Jerusalem, and suddenly they find he's not with them. They realize he's sitting with the learned men of the temple and debating with them. And they are so impressed that they continue that debate. They see that in this young boy, there is wisdom. And the mother comes and says, how come you just left? Let's go home. We were worried. And he simply says, don't you know I must be about my Father's business? So right at that age, again, being about his Father's business, I realized that Jesus was in the world to do God's will, but he was not of the world because he only wanted to do God's will. And it's a very good balance that he wanted to do something, but because he was in tune with a higher power. Now, the reason I say this is also, as disciples or as seekers, we start realizing that every year, as we are on the spiritual path, we are trying to refine our understanding of what we are trying to do. And as we talked about a little bit yesterday, for some of you who are at the celebration, we are trying to transcend the ego, dissolve the ego, and realize that the divine is flowing through us. Now, if you want to do that, if we want to do that, it's not enough to do the right thing. It's not enough to support the right cause. It's important to get into the training for everything before you do anything, to ask that question, may thy will be done. And because sometimes we can do the right things and we never dissolve our ego that way. But by asking this question, before any important decision, even whether it's to support a cause you all feel needs to be supported, to step back and say, thy will be done. Is this your will? Just asking that question starts dissolving the ego. It allows for the divine light to flow in. Sometimes you'll do different things. Sometimes you'll do things differently. Sometimes you'll feel differently after you're done the same thing. But in each situation, you'll see your heart is so much freer, simply because you've taken that time and asked that question. So for us who are seeking self-realization, even when we feel we are supporting the right thing, we are doing the right, taking the next steps, if we get into the habit of saying, still let me meditate a bit, let me center myself, and let me just ask the divine or to Yogananda, is this what I should do? Is there something else you'd like me to do? I want to do your will. I feel this is what I need to do. And sometimes nothing will change. You'll see that you are supposed to do what you want to do, but the very asking will change your consciousness. And sometimes you'll find a better way to do these things. This, again, seeing devotees for many years. Devotees are always on the right side. As they understand it, I have seen again and again the importance of waiting and asking this question, even if it all feels very obvious. In fact, Swami Kriyananda has a couple of letters he wrote, which are very sweet on this topic. I want to read one or two that I cited to this person just a couple days ago. And this one is quite sweet, and the other is very instructive. I am at a crossroad. A woman wrote, Swamiji, I have to choose between two alternatives, and the decision will affect my life for years to come. I have prayed and prayed to Master, but I don't get any guidance. What should I do? And Swamiji's response is, Master is pleased simply because you have asked him. Choose either one. It won't matter so long as you offer whatever you do in devotion and service to God. And so, sometimes we get very worked up. Is this God's will? Is this not God's will? I've tried my best. The very fact of asking is enough for the divine to know you are sincere. And then, of course, in another letter, Swami gives more guidelines on how to do this. He says to another person, yes, deepen your attunement with Yogananda. It will help you to develop deeper faith in him. Surrender every little worry to him. He is pleased when we offer him everything. Ask always, not just when we are in a conundrum. Ask always, is this what you would have me to do? Feel him working through you, meditating through you, speaking to others through you. Serve him in everything you do. Ask him to guide you in all things, to discipline you if needed, and always to help you feel his love for you. Don't identify with your failings. Your aspiration is to reach the infinite, and your sincere devotion will surely lead you there. So these seem like simple things, How complex is it to ask, thy will be done, or what is your will? Shouldn't I instead be meditating 3 hours and practicing 108 kriyas? All of that can be done. But, asking is where we dissolve the ego. There's something to asking where we open ourselves to the understanding that I might not know everything. I might not know as much as I think I do. And when we do that, the divine is able to enter into our hearts. This is the same. If you're considering moving to a new place, all the logic adds up. Sometimes have you asked Master simply, hey, don't say hey to Master, or maybe you can. That's too familiar. So Master or Guruji or Light or Christ, whatever it is, do you want me to do this? Is this your will? And, try to feel the answer very freely. And if the answer changes, be ready to turn on a dime, as they say, and to explore the direction that has been guiding you. Because sometimes you might feel some doors closing. If your prayer is sincere and you want to go through that very door and you want your guidance to be anything but that door closing, and it gets closed and you realize in retrospect that, this was the right thing to do. But the more we open our hearts in this way, First things first, before we make any decision to defend any principle, to go in any direction, it all might feel right. And we say, Master, what do you want me to do this? Should I say something? Should I, and oftentimes I have found in my own life that doing that makes me realize, I don't think I should make even that casual remark. Or I don't think I should say this or the other thing. I shouldn't write that thing right now. I might have all the reason to, but I feel that trepidation. Or sometimes because we open ourselves in this way, when we pray, ask questions, we also ask others. I do at least, others whose wisdom I trust. The insight or suggestion they give us, I realize, hey, that's such a better way to do things. These things come up in different ways, by the way. We, for example, in this age of AI, we have been wondering whether we should have an AI bot that answers spiritual questions. Because on the one side, we don't want an AI to be an intermediary between the seeker and an in-person resource or the teachings. We don't want an AI to summarize what a great soul has written, so on and so forth. And so when we are having this question, we asked Jyotish, Swami Jyotish, who's the spiritual director, and he was all for AI. He said, this was the same question Yogananda had in 1920. He didn't say this, but in 1920s, when he started a correspondence course with his yogic teachings, people said, that's not how yoga is taught. It's one-on-one and it's secret. You whisper in the right ear, not left ear. You whisper in the right ear the mantra, and that's how it's all done. And Yogananda said, it's about the people, the seekers everywhere receiving these teachings. Those who are sincere can always do more. And if they show up right where I am, I'll whisper in their right ear. Also, I'm not saying I won't do that. But this is where Jyotish said that, allow people to tune into the teachings. Try to refine the chat bot so that it does what we are trying to do, and have it very clear that in-person guidance is always at hand. Have a note saying some of the answers might be a little bit of a mishmash, and then allow people to discover things for themselves. Let's at least experiment. And we found it to be wonderful thus far. It does what we suppose it should be doing. Sometimes it does things that are a little bit crazy, but that is okay. That's a part of what we all, even if I give a class here, everybody understands according to their understanding. And even if I do my best to share, I share based on my understanding. I can't do better than that. So imperfections are a part of everything we do. And so when Jyotish said that, I realized, yeah, this is right. We don't need to be very reactionary. There was another thing that had come up a year and a half ago, because Swami, when he was talking about Kriya Yoga, he had said two exactly opposite things about certain thing. Somebody asked Swami, hey, this particular sound that goes with the Kriya technique, is it a mantra? In one place he said yes, in another he said no. And somebody asked Jyotish, finally, what should we do? There's these two contradictory answers. And Jyotish said, both are true. Simply leave them. Why do we need to choose one or the other? It doesn't really affect the essence of how we practice the technique. And we realize, of course, that is the right thing to do. And so find out different ways to invite the divine guidance into your lives. We know self-realization is the goal. We also know the biggest stumbling block is our own ego. And the biggest challenge is to dissolve that ego. And that ego needs dissolution even when we are supporting right causes, even when we are looking to do the right things. That doesn't take away the challenge of dissolving the ego. And asking the divine for guidance in small and big ways allows us, even if the outcome is same, to feel free from ego consciousness. So many blessings and much joy to you.
Choir has another song. Thank you.
Lord, may we serve you. us with truth whene'er we speak. Lord, may we ever know your will. Come to us when our hearts are still. As we your guidance with joy receive, may we as one your bliss achieve. As we your guidance with joy receive,